most first-time home buyers understand how to use a brush, how to use a roller, maybe how to use drop cloths, the essentials, but what they don't understand is those little tips that professional painters use to complete a job faster. You're no stranger to painting. You've done a lot of this, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say a lot, but I've painted, you know, my old apartment a few times, a previous apartment, and even when I lived with my parents, I painted, so I painted a lot.
We already did some touch-ups on the wall because we had the drywall contractor in here, and your ceiling looks pretty good. It looks like it was painted, so we don't have to do that. We just have to do the walls and the trim. My typical sequence would actually be to do the trim first because it's just sort of easier to, when you come over here, paint into this rather than trying to paint this outside edge, you know?
That makes a lot of sense.
But also, because this is a small room, we're gonna be working quickly. If we paint that baseboard first and then we roll, we're gonna get those little speckles on the baseboard. So for this, why don't we get the spots with the trim paint that are gonna be hard to reach later, and then we can pivot right over to painting the walls, and then we'll do that baseboard last because we don't want any of those speckles. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so get as much paint as we can fit in there.
Today I'm looking forward to learning some pro tips from Zach.
The more paint we get into here, the lighter this is gonna be, so you're not carrying that heavy gallon around.
Because I know that he does everything to the highest levels.
As you drag, you have to keep dragging higher and higher and higher, and I'm sure you've had that happen where then you have paint on the whole thing, right? So what you need to do is actually dunk and tap. And that's going to mean you're loading the brush properly, but you're not dragging it on the side and you don't have a messy brush.
I'm looking forward to seeing how he does things and to learn some tips.
So the area I want you to focus on is this area between the face of the casing and the wall. That's what we want to get painted first. I'm gonna start on the wall color. You work on all of those areas. So don't be afraid to like get it on there and then clean it up after.
Okay.
We call this cutting in. So basically brush work. First thing is a very loaded brush, figuring out what the brush is doing with some test strokes, and then gradually working your way up to the line.
Very impressive. Normally I would put tape on the ceiling.
Yeah, what a waste of tape if you can just, you know.
If you're an expert, I guess.
See what you're doing. We don't want those little fibers in the paint job, so just roll that up and down the masking tape there. Going across, just do it a whole bunch of times. We want to make sure those loose particles come off on the tape, not on the wall.
Okay, this is a great tip. I've never done this before.
Pretty
But
handy.
I do notice that I always get fuzz on the wall.
Yeah, eventually, once it's sort of worn in, we're just trying to prep it. See all the stuff on there?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Looks like you had cats in the house.
And I'm allergic.
Okay, so now that's all lint-free. You can sort of load this up. This part of the roller cage leading in the direction you go, because basically what you want to do is you want to have pressure on the leading edge, because the side with the pressure is going to sort of leave a little bit of residue paint, sort of like these lines we see here. That's what we don't want. So we're going to work this way and think of this as feathering out. So you've got pressure on the leading edge, feathering out, and we're just going up and down. You're gonna
Straight up and down?
Straight up and down, none of this Y business.
I know.
Just get the paint on the wall.
Okay.
No one needs to do that Y thing. I don't know where that started.
Yeah.
It's a
It's
huge
like-
conspiracy. Most people are trying to do this in a weekend or an afternoon, and they're wasting so much time not being effective. So what I'd like to show Jorge, who really knows how to paint, we just want to make him more effective so we can get through that project quicker and move on to unpacking. What's sort of your biggest waste of time? It's not when you're rolling, it's not when you're brushing, it's the trips
Back and
between.
forth, yeah.
So if we can minimize the amount of trips by maximizing the amount of paint, we'll move quicker through the project. But look what happens, it sort of drips off, and then you're gonna turn this whole job site into a mess. So what I like to do is when I get as much paint as I can that I can control, and then I'll just sort of spin it as I bring it into position. And that allows me to put much more paint on the wall. It stops dripping almost immediately once I touch the wall. And I'm literally just loading the wall up with that paint. And then I'll start back here, leveling it out. Give her a whirl, an actual whirl, a spinning whirl.
It was very cool. You know, I learned a bunch of new things that are easy to apply. So it was exciting.
All right, that's the first coat done.
Looks good.
I think it looks pretty good. That's a nice color, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think you got this pretty much handled. I'll let you at it. One more coat, semi-gloss, and you're off to the races.
All right.
All right, well done.
Thanks a lot, Zach. It feels great to know that we're putting the sort of the finishing touches on the kids' room. You know, I'm super excited for the Mother and Sadie to move into their room and get used to their new home and stuff, and see them playing in there and walking in and out of it. So it's pretty exciting and emotional.
Thanks for watching. This Old House has got a video for just about every home improvement project, so be sure to check out the others. And if you like what you see, click on the subscribe button to make sure that you get our newest videos right in your feed.